Fire, 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 fire.
This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream.
Here I go!
Yay!
Level 4.
Let's go!
One of the newest biome types introduced to the game is the city biome. This is a completely unique biome type that's almost entirely constructed by human players. However, this video isn't about those human players, nor is it about the players they deliberately add to their party, like cats and dogs, but rather all the other builds in the game, and which ones function the best in the city meta. While obviously not all
crows are top S tier.
Cities are the same,
S tier.
there are certain strategies that tend to make for a viable city build. We'll first discuss the most and least relevant abilities for city meta builds, and then go through the tier list for the city meta. The most important objective when playing in a city biome is avoiding direct contact with humans.
Freaking bears, man.
While there are ways to defeat humans, doing battle with them on their home turf is nearly impossible.
Oh, if monkeys are allowed to be on the tier list, then monkeys. Monkeys fuck people up. They like gang up on them. Yeah, it's terrifying.
And so builds that easily get in a human's way, attract a lot of attention, or come off as intimidating to humans, are going to be at the highest risk of doing that. So what types of builds tend to struggle in cities? The resounding answer seems to be tank builds. While tanks tend to be the most outright powerful builds in a given server, the city biome does not favor slow-moving herbivores that require huge amounts of food and have to spend most of the day grazing. In addition to attracting a ton of attention, the city meta is fast-moving and full of unorthodox barriers that slow, large, defense-based builds have trouble overcoming.
Dumbass deer.
Builds that have controlling large territories as part of their main questline will also have a lot of difficulty in city biomes. Cities are tightly packed because the potential loot is so good. If all that you're after is the XP-rich food, great. But if you're after the territory itself, few challenges are more difficult or deadly than trying to conquer a human. More difficult or deadly than trying to
Did they miss? Or was it too heavy? Dude, they sniped him and he fell, man.
Conquer a human player's.
No, they missed! He fell through! No, I know they tranked him. I know. But, like, they missed the platform.
Territory. So what does work in cities? Probably the most common trait among successful city builds is omnivory. That's because omnivory is key to making sure the supremely valuable loot available in cities is something your character can actually make use of.
I had a crazy friend that would grab him by the throat when we would like eat fish and chips and stuff when we were kids. He'd like, they would hover over us and he would like put them up, you know, put up the fish and chips, and then he'd grab him by the throat.
This isn't to say that you can't succeed as a pure carnivore.
They're rats,
Obviously,
man.
the crowded nature of cities means there's a lot of potential PvP targets. But there's no question that the scavenger strategy is more effective in cities than in any other biome. My
parents went to Thailand and there was a woman that had earrings and they would glimmer and shimmer in the sun. And she was sitting next to them and a monkey came off and ripped her like earring off and her ear. Yeah, they told her not to wear, they told women and men to not wear earrings because they like shiny things. And yeah, they rip it off like your face and your neck and your ears. It's really scary what monkeys can do.
Common trait is nocturnalism, since this makes it much easier to avoid humans. Normally, I tell players who swap to a nocturnal playstyle to avoid dealing with the diurnal player base to get good. But honestly, when it comes to humans, I think it's a fair strategy. As I said before, city biomes present some of the most challenging terrain to navigate in the entire game, and so having high mobility and a versatile array of movement options is essential to traversing the concrete jungles. Don't spec into a high top speed if it means giving up the ability to climb, high jump, crawl, or swim, because cities will test your ability to do all of these frequently.
I thought that was gonna end badly, man. I have moose PTSD, man.
Perhaps one of the most powerful city abilities is flight, because it not only lets you bypass just about any obstacle, but also is by far the best way to avoid or escape contact with dangerous humans. The most common obstacles you'll be able to interact with in cities are power lines, which can be scaled if you have the climb ability, but tend to be best utilized by aerial builds as high visibility, low risk perch spots. Sewers, which can be accessed with the crawl ability and can function as a safe shortcut.
That was so fast! I didn't expect that at
multiple points
all.
in a city. Buildings, which often require multiple skills to navigate successfully and often contain the best loot, but are also the most dangerous places to enter due to being almost always guarded by humans. And most importantly, roads, which are the most common death trap for players in the city and require careful strategy to traverse. However, in the city meta, the most important factor by far is the build's intelligence stat. And this is because the best rewards can only be sustainably looted by using careful strategy and problem solving. Whether it's opening doors, crossing streets, avoiding traps, or stealing loot from humans, without intelligence, gameplay in the city biome is much more difficult. Alright, so let's get into the tier list for the city meta. In F tier, we have the Deer Guild, which includes the classic
Yeah, deer are freaking stupid as hell.
Deer build along with its variants like the Elk and Moose. These builds lack nearly all of the most important traits for a city build. They don't have a high intelligence stat, they can't climb or crawl, and they aren't omnivorous.
Dude, I hate deer. Deer and moose are in the same freaking category for me. They're so dumb, man. You trip and break your neck? Is that an Oregon Trail reference? I think it is.
However, deer players love to loot the gardens that human mains create in cities and suburbs, and because of that are extremely common at the edges of city biomes. However, they struggle to survive further in because of one of the main obstacles,
cars.
roads.
Oh! Dude! Wait, what?
Survive further in because of one of the main obstacles, roads.
Bro, that deer is going to outer space. Dude, look at the dent in the car. Look at the dent. It fucked up the front.
Because they have no way to climb or fly, they
That looked like a Super Smash finisher, bro. Holy moly.
often have to cross roads by making an awareness check, which they often end up failing.
Yeah.
However, even at the edge of cities, when things get crowded, deer don't do well, developing chronic wasting disease, although this is mostly
What's
due to a
that?
random bug in the deer's code, which I hope gets patched out soon. Next on the tier list, we have the first of many birds. Because of their high average intelligence, birds tend to do quite well in the city meta. This includes even the weakest bird builds out there, like the pigeon, which is on the low end of average in terms of the bird's stats. Still, being below average intelligence for a bird still puts you well above the average overall, and pigeons are great at making use of it, mostly for superior aerial navigation and for recognizing the human mains that tend to host drop parties most frequently.
Drop parties. That's cute, man. Little RuneScape.
While their street smarts are solid, their combat potential leaves a lot to be desired. Pigeons get bodied by basically every other build in the city meta, and for that, they're stuck in D tier. The next build on the list is another bird, one that's opted for a tank-type build, the goose. Now, I've actually got a full video dedicated to geese, so I won't spend too much time discussing them here.
Dude, that guy got owned, man. Just grab it by the throat, man!
But geese are actually one of the few builds in the game that had a nearly dead player base, with numbers dwindling before they started joining city servers. However, with the introduction of city parks, geese have risen to prominence more so than ever before. With that said, as intimidating as they can be, they're easily defeated as long as your build can resist their intimidation abilities. They pose no real threat and don't really compete for the best loot either, and for that reason, they're also in D tier.
Yeah, like that,
in C tier, we have a build that's had a bit of breakout success in the city meta, the coyote. Coyotes hold a low-tier spot in the prairie and forest meta, mainly due to their inability to deal adequate damage to other players. However, most of the coyote's competition struggles in the city meta, while the coyote's excellent intelligence stat allows it to do quite well here. And in the city, potential targets for the coyote sport much less impressive combat stats. Coyotes are one of the few builds with a favorable matchup against the house cat build, one of the main matchups to consider in the city meta. This can work against the coyote sometimes though, as human players don't take kindly to coyotes attacking their vulnerable players in their party. Still, C tier is a higher placing than I gave to coyotes on the canine tier list I made, meaning I think the coyote build is more effective in the city than anywhere else. Next we have the Gull, a build very similar in playstyle to the Pigeon, but with a bit of added bulk, enabling it to survive attacks that would mean game over for players
This cat's so pissed.
in the lower weight class.
Hey,
Although they're excellent scavengers,
food.
because this build was initially developed by carnivore players, its combat abilities are strong enough to enable it to
Peppa, no.
take down other players if need be.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck seagulls, man.
This build does best in coastal cities,
Peppa.
but really is solid in just about any city, and ranks at high C tier. In B tier, we have the Feral Hog, another build which had a bit of breakout success in recent times. Feral Hogs are the bulkiest build on
All the Texans in chat know that feral hogs are horrendous.
this list, and because of their bulk,
Cranking
they've
the
got
hog.
essentially no unfavorable matchups against the other non-human city builds. They are easily the safest build to play when it comes to having to fear combat from other players, unlike coyotes, which humans
my
only
God,
perceive as
man.
dangerous, but really are far too weak to pose a threat to them. Feral hogs legitimately are dangerous to humans. Because of this, I would expect the human player base to start calling for bans, and react quite aggressively when a hog's
my
presence is discovered. Still, with one of the highest intelligence stats in the game, the hog build can quickly learn to navigate cities. Perhaps their worst detriment is that they require a lot of loot to sustain.
I mean, the little piggies are kind of cute, but damn, they are really bad in, like, Texas.
And since they can't climb, they may run out of all available loot rather quickly. Last in B tier we have the Squirrel. Squirrels have the highest arboreal mobility of any build in the game, and this mobility translates quite well to traversing buildings and power lines in the city biome. While they aren't tanks by any means, their thick fur does mean they can survive more damage than your average rodent build. Generally, they don't need to worry about this though, as their agility should be more than enough to allow them to escape most dangerous situations.
Dude, this freaking squirrel's looping the crap out of this cat.
And enough to allow them to bypass most obstacles and claim the best loot available. While there's certainly no powerhouse, there's no question that when it comes to traversing the urban biome, squirrels are near unparalleled. One of the biggest risks to squirrel mains is that their regenerative tooth ability forces them to use them every so often to damage structures, and gnawing on the wrong thing can
I'm about to blow.
mean game over for an inexperienced player. First, in
See his body crash down.
and gnawing on the wrong thing can mean game over for an inexperienced player.
Oh my god, it's a horrible death, man. Just get fucking deep fried and you're done and fall.
First in A tier, we have the Raccoon. I see the Raccoon build as sort of a direct upgrade to the Coyote, at least in terms of its viability in the city biome. It boasts similar DPS and intelligence, but is also omnivorous, has much better climbing abilities, and also has better stealth. Raccoon players have a reputation for making some of the best thieving builds in the game, and this is no mistake. Raccoons can get into just about any container, and their sense of smell is so good that there's basically no way to hide loot from them. One thing to note is that Raccoons are a high skill ceiling build with a low skill floor. Despite the fact that the Raccoon has all the tools it needs to succeed in the city meta, their average lifespan is only about 2 years despite having a maximum around 20. On a similar vein to the Raccoon, next in A tier we have the Monkey, another highly adaptable and versatile build, which combines the intelligence of the hog with the mobility of a squirrel.
And they move in packs sometimes that are terrifying. I'm pretty sure in India they had to lock down an entire district because there was like a pack of rabid monkeys that learned that they could intimidate people. And they had to like lock down an entire sector because they kept like ganging up on people and attacking them.
To create a build perfectly capable of mastering everything about city gameplay, monkeys are one of the few builds with an intelligence level high enough to directly interact with humans. Whether that be stealing from them, trading with them, or even just generally socializing with them. The monkeys' main weaknesses, which are their low defenses and high food cost, are also somewhat mitigated by cities, since high-value loot is abundant and the predators that could take advantage of the monkey's low defensive stats have a tough time traversing cities uncontested. However, it's important to note that due to a monkey's size, the climbing obstacles in cities aren't always as safe as they seem, so knowledge of how to traverse them is paramount. In top tier, we have two
Oh no. Oh no.
safe as they seem, so knowledge of how to traverse them is paramount. In top tier, we have two
Yeah, game over. Critical hit.
builds which really have total command of cities,
Tasty.
as well as nigh untouchability from the hazards common in cities. The first is the corvid build, including crows, ravens, and magpies. These builds, which are tied with parrots for the highest intelligence level of any bird in the game, are masters of the city meta. Similar to monkeys, their main weaknesses of low base stats other than intelligence and mobility are less of an issue in the city. In fact, corvids play very similar to monkeys in basically every way except that corvids have the flight ability. They too can interface with humans with ease, but unlike monkeys, corvids don't have to worry about obstacles like roads or power lines. In fact, corvids use these to their advantage. Roads in particular can be used to access loot that would be otherwise inaccessible to a build with such a low power stat. Whether that be loot from tough tree nuts or from players who didn't have the skills necessary to traverse those deadly roads. This was probably fairly predictable, but there's no question that the best city build in the game is the rat. While they don't have the flight ability, the rat's powerful incisor teeth give them the ability to forge their own paths through cities, being able to knock through pipes and even concrete. Their extremely quick spawn rates ensure that, once established, a rat player base will be able to leech off of human loot for as long as there's loot available. They're also excellent swimmers and take very little fall damage, so in—
Dude, I remember someone on TikTok was talking about how there's rats that can hold their breath, and what you have to do when you leave for vacation is always to close the lid because it's too heavy for them to open. But the rats check, and then that's how they go through to your house. Yeah, in New York.
In a lot of ways, rats are even better suited to cities than humans are themselves.
Yeah.
But more importantly, rats are smart enough to learn to avoid traps that humans deliberately set for them. Intelligence really is everything when it comes to the city meta. Far more important than stats that are normally must-haves, like power and HP. If you're interested in learning more about intelligent animals, I recommend you check out Super Smart Animals, a documentary about the heights of animal intelligence on CuriosityStream. It's an awesome two-part series that covers both practical strategic intelligence and also goes into the social component of intelligence, something I'll be making a video about in the future. So if you want to try to predict my tier list for social and U-social builds, this is going to be one of your best resources. CuriosityStream is the best place on the internet for high-quality non-fiction content, with a library of thousands of incredible documentaries. The subscription is only $3 a month or $20 for the year, and it also comes with a free subscription to Nebula, a streaming service owned and operated by creators. I'll be uploading more original content there in the coming weeks, which you definitely won't want to miss. So to get access to 2 awesome streaming services, go to curiositystream.com/tierzoo or use the link in the description. Last but not least, thanks for watching, and thank you especially to my patrons on Patreon. I'll be back with another video soon, so be sure you're subscribed. But until then, good luck out there.
Yay! That was awesome. What a good video. No mention of falcons? Falcons aren't like city animals. I've never seen a falcon in a city.